Okay, let's go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Dave Whiting. I'm the developer of Fred, the Football Results England database. And I'm going to talk to you this evening about the reports within Fred. These are the things that pull all the information, the data stored in Fred, 300,000 or so matches, together into meaningful summaries that will interest and inform. So there are quite a few reports to get through, 32 to be precise. So let's get started. The first report or so that I talk about, I'm going to spend a bit of time on because there are some general concepts that I need to get over to you that will be relevant to all of the reports that we're going to look at tonight. And I'll spend a bit of time on those, but from then on, we'll whiz through the reports fairly quickly, just so you can see what's available, what it does, and just whet your interest, I hope. Okay, so reports. The report center is accessed via the button bar at the top. You see it here. And this is the tool that we use to give access to every one of the reports that's currently set up in Fred. 32, as I say. This is what the screen looks like. On the left-hand side, you can see a list of the reports, alphabetical order. And there they are. And to the right of this list, you can see two columns labelled men and women. These indicate whether or not the report is relevant to the men's game and or the women's game. In fact, all the reports at the moment are relevant to the men's game, and the majority of reports are also available to the women's game, just a few that aren't. As an example, you can see the two for the Community Shield there aren't relevant to the ladies' game because they don't have a Community Shield competition at this point in time. Hopefully that will change. Okay, so once you've got a report selected, on the left-hand side, more details, more information relating to it is shown on the right-hand side, the selected report. So I've just clicked on Club Record Results, and this is the description of what this report does. It's a multi-tab report showing the records within match result lists, for goals for, goals against, winning margin, losing margin, and aggregate score for a selected club. Okay, we'll look at this report in detail a bit later on, but for the time being, just want you to understand what this screen is showing you. This report can be filtered. What I mean by that is you can apply controls to how that report runs to make sure that it's as specific and as focused as you would want it to be. These are the filters that are available for this report. You will select either men or women. You will select one club. But you can also select a range of seasons that the data is filtered to. You can select 2 seasons and it will give you everything between those 2 seasons inclusive. Nothing either side or outside of that range. Similarly with competition type, if you don't select a competition, then the report will list from all competitions, but you can select one which will focus the report to just the one selected. And if you've selected a league competition, you can restrict that league information to just one particular level within the database. Level 1 being the Premier League, level 4 being League 2, and so on. And then finally, bottom of this screen here, you can get an idea of how this report will perform by the processing box here. This report is very labour intensive, it's very hard working, so it's slow. It's going to take you a little while to run. The more it's filtered, the quicker it will run, but if it was everything, it would be a fairly slow report to run. Drill down. Most of the reports in Fred allow access to more detailed information underneath them. So for example, if you've got a report that's showing a list of summaries, a list of match results or whatever, double clicking on a row will give you information leading to that row that is more detailed. In this particular case, the report lists results specifically, and drilling down takes you to a match result screen, which is usually fairly similar to what's displayed on a results row, but with a little bit of additional information. And then finally, in a lot of places throughout Fred, you will see a little W button, which is a wiki icon, Wikipedia icon, that will allow you to go to a relevant page associated with the report that you're looking at. So for example, the wiki link for this report will take you to the club page for the club that you've selected within the report. That just gives you a means of expanding the information available to from an alternative source to enhance what you're viewing within the report. Okay, so every time we open a report, it will be via this screen here, the report center, and we'll start off with, let's have a look at the club penalty shootout record as our first report. Okay, so here it is. It's a list of all match results for a selected club that feature a penalty shootout. Let's have a look at the filter. So you can select either men or women, select a club. So let's select AFC Bournemouth. There they are. Okay. Within that, you can also restrict the seasons, the competition type, the result, i.e. whether or not Bournemouth won or lost these penalty shootouts, or all, as is the case when that control is switched off. We'll leave it like that and we'll go. Sorry, just before we do that, if I can just draw your attention to this section here, which is report subtitle. As we were making selections, Fred was automatically giving you suggestions as to what subtitle you should create. All reports have a title. This one is Club Penalty Shootout Record, but a subtitle allows the report to provide more focus and more specific description of what the report is showing. If you don't want to do this and have this automatically suggested for you, you can just switch it off. That's no problem. You don't have to do it, and you can either leave it blank and not have a subtitle, or you can type your own one in and say what you want as a subtitle. Personally, I find it very useful to have this feature switched on. It's normally very relevant to what you're doing within the report, so why not just use it? Just one other thing before we run the report as well. Let's have a look at if we switched on the competition type. Okay. Now, as soon as you do that, you're basically asked to select a competition. If you don't, Fred won't be happy. Okay, so it knows that you're wanting to specify a competition type, but you've forgotten to do it or made a mistake in some respect. And it tells you a competition type must be selected. Okay, fine. Well, in fact, I don't want to select a competition type, so I'll just switch that off and then Fred will be happy and we'll run the report. That's a useful feature because with the best will in the world, it is possible to inadvertently put some sort of nonsense information together, stuff that just doesn't make sense, and therefore Fred's sort of duty bound to warn you regarding that. Okay, here's what the report looks like then. So you have a list in date order of all the matches in which Bournemouth have participated in a penalty shootout. First off, we've got the 13th of March 1984 when they played Millwall in the Associate Members' Cup Round 2, a now defunct competition. It was 1-1 at full time, 2-2 at extra time, and Bournemouth won the shootout 7-6. And then most recently, they played against Wolves in the FA Cup 5th round. They drew the match 1-1 after extra time. This was only back in March this year. And they won Bournemouth won the penalty shootout 5-4. Okay, so that's a fairly straightforward report. Again, as I said earlier, double-clicking a row drills you down to the match results screen. What you can also see on this screen is that there could be a bit of additional information if the match was played at a neutral venue, for example, or if the attendance figure was available. The attendance data in Fred at the moment is fairly limited. What it also does is give you two options for Wikipedia pages, for each of the teams. So this top one will give you the page for Bournemouth. There it is, it's opened. And this is useful, it just gives you a little bit of extra background in respect of the details in the report that you're working with. Okay, so let's back out of that, and that is the penalty shootout record report. Okay, now having gone through the specifics of how the report center and a filter works, I'm not going to labour on that anymore. I'm just going to rattle through the reports and give you a flavour of what this system can do. Next up, let's look at the club list. Very simple report. as the description here says, an alphabetical list of clubs showing their current or latest name, their first and latest seasons of participation, whether or not they are currently active, whether or not they folded, and any previous names that they've had. Okay, so the filter here looks slightly different. Again, you can select between men or women, and then you can use these tick boxes to decide whether you want to include folded clubs, yes or no, foreign clubs, yes or no, academy or under 21 clubs, yes or no. Okay, so let's say I don't want to see folded clubs. I am going to look at foreign clubs, and I'm specifically going to look at only foreign clubs. But having made that selection, I've then got another option available in terms of, do I want to be specific about which nation of foreign clubs I'm interested in? Well, why not? Let's choose Belgium. Okay, academy. No, I'm not going to take that into account. For foreign clubs, there aren't any academies clubs listed anyway, so no need. So here we go then, we're looking at men's football. We're ignoring clubs that are folded. We're going to look at Belgian clubs only. This is what we get. Here we go. Now I should say at this point that this is not obviously an exhaustive list of Belgian clubs that may or may not compete in European football, but it's the list that is relevant to having played against English clubs. So with the foreign football that is included in Fred, it's not a full exhaustive list. You won't see all of the matches unless there's an English club involved, then the information won't be relevant to Fred at this point in time. That seemed the right thing to do at this stage for me. Okay, so here we see the report. Interestingly here you can see that there's a previous name for this club, Genk, previously called FC Winterslag. Yeah, that's quite helpful just to see how they might have evolved through the passage of time. One thing I should have said when I was talking about the previous report, but this is relevant on this report and all the others, that on all report screens you've got the option to either print the report, i.e. send it to one of your printers, or to a PDF printer if you've got one set up, or you can export it as a text file. That will allow you to open the file in Excel and manipulate it in any way you choose for presentation purposes. So you'll see that on all of the report screens. That's the club list report. Okay, what's next? Moving on, we're going to look at club results of season that we just pulled up a few minutes ago. So I'm going to dip into women's football for this one, and I'm going to choose Everton from the women's club list. Come on, here we go, Everton. And I'm going to let's look at a recent season, 2022-23. Select that. Okay, so this report, as set up now, will show Everton women 2022-23, all of their results in that season. Again, I could say specific competition only, or I could say up to a particular date, or I could say just show their home matches or their away matches, or I could say just show the games that they won or lost, etc. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it for the full list, Everton women 22-23. This is what we get. There we go. So they played 27 matches with 11 wins, 3 draws, 13 losses, 35 for, 43 against. Okay, you can see that they opened with a 1-0 defeat at West Ham in the Super League, Women's Super League, and they finished with a 3-2 defeat at Manchester City, also in the Super League. And you can see a few FA Cup, League Cup matches dotted in there as well. But that gives you a full list of results for a particular club in a particular season. Okay, moving on. What's next? League Champions table, slightly different type of report this one, but let's see what it does. It's a list of clubs having won the top or level 1 tier 1 league division, Premier League as we call it today, ordered by their number of wins and showing the years in which they won. Here's what it looks like. I'm going to leave it just as the men's game, all seasons, and here it is. So this shows us that currently Liverpool and Manchester United share the lead in this table with 20 wins each over the 126 tournaments that have been played. Liverpool most recently winning it this year, just finished, to draw them level with Manchester United. And then you can see going down the list other clubs that have won it. Only 24 clubs have won the top division over the history of English football. So it's quite an exclusive club. Looking down the league, down the list here, we can see that there's some fairly big clubs, even down here. Nottingham Forest, 1978, their one win. Ipswich Town in 1962. A couple for Preston back in the early days, the 1880s, 90s. And then, obviously, those in between. Okay, that's good. I think that's fairly self-explanatory. Next up, results of day. So this report's quite interesting. You can select any day in history, any time you like, from the history right back to 1871 when the FA Cup started, up to the current day. And you can look at the results on that day. Here's one I prepared earlier. I'm going to look at the 16th of March, this year just gone, a recent one. I'm going to look for both genders. I'm not going to filter for men or women. I'm going to look at European games, although I know there aren't any, but if they would be included. And I'm not going to restrict by competition type. Any competition can be listed. Here's what we get. There we go. So start off with Women's Championship. There were 5 games. That's a full programme in that season, as I believe, for the Women's Championship. You've also got a couple of games in the Women's Super League. You've also got the Carabao Cup final. This was the famous Newcastle and long-awaited win for a trophy for Newcastle. 2-1 win over Liverpool. Very good game. There were 3 Premier League games and 1 Championship game, the Sheffield Derby. Very, very interesting to be able to look back at a day in history and just see what happened on that day. Fairly standard report, I'd say. Showing us here that in 12 matches there were 28 goals, an average of 2.33 goals per match. Results of day. Okay. Next up, league table. Obviously we need a league table. And what should we look at? Let's go back in time a little bit. Let's go back to the 77-78 season. And let's look at the top division. I'm not going to put a date on there, so it's going to be for men's football. I'm not going to put a date on, so this will be the final table. See what we get. And there we have it. As we just saw on the League Champions table report, there was 1 win for Nottingham Forest as a league champion, and that was 1978. Here they are, having won the league. This is back in the days when there was 2 points for a win, so 25 wins, 50 points, plus 14 points for the draw, 64 points in total. 7 points, well clear of Liverpool at the end of the season there. Only lost 3 games, very impressive. Double clicking this gives you the results, but it's more specific this time in that the drill down knows that we're looking at a particular league division, so it will filter just to that competition and a particular season. So there it is, just the 1977-78 season. And that's the games that Forest played in that season, all the way through to their final game, a 0-0 draw with Liverpool. Title won by that point. Okay, so that's the league table. I have had a suggestion for the league table report that I should show on the final table. I should show relegated and or promoted teams on here, which is a good idea. I haven't done it yet, but I'll add it to my list of amendments for the next update. Okay. League table. Next, FA Cup final match list. Incidentally, you probably guessed, but I do have a crib sheet here that I'm reading from. I've decided in advance how I'm going to present these, what order I'm going to do them in, and in some cases, what options I'm going to choose when I'm displaying the report. So if you see me pause for a moment and and refer to my notes, bear with me, thank you. So FA Cup final match list, here we go. So the filter here allows us to choose between men and women. You can apply a season range. You can select a club. So for the time being, I'm just going to leave it as men's football all time, all clubs. Here we go. And this is what we get. So you can see back here, first one on the list, right back in 1871-72, when Wanderers beat Royal Engineers 1-0, took place at the Kennington Oval in front of 2,000 people. Okay, and then most recently, here we go, all the way up to 24-25 season, the season that's just closed. And on the 17th of May, Crystal Palace recorded a 1-0 victory over Manchester City at Wembley in front of just over 84,000 people. So we also see in here that we've got any references to extra time, penalties, as and when they occur. If we go back to the filter, we could say, well, we're only interested in a particular club, as an example. Having just seen that Crystal Palace are the current holders, let's see what they've done historically. So I'll home in and find Crystal Palace and select them and rerun the report. And here we go. So at the bottom there, you've got that 1-0 win in the season just gone. But you've got 3 other matches that they've played in the FA Cup finals, all against Manchester United, coincidentally. There's a replay there in 1990. They drew the first game 3-all. They lost the replay 1-0. This is back in the days before the FA decided that penalty shootouts, decision on the day would be better. But yes, a replay there. And interestingly, their one and only other appearance in an FA Cup final was also against Manchester United in 2016, and they lost that one as well, 2-1, after extra time. Okay, so that's the FA Cup final match list. FA Cup winners table, sort of an associated report here. Let's just look at that one. So it's similar to the League Champions table that we saw a moment ago, except it's specifically for winners of the FA Cup. Here's what we've got. Currently, Arsenal out front with 14 wins, closely followed by Manchester United on 24. Okay, down here, the other end, here we see Crystal Palace. There you go. They've joined the list this season with their 2025 win. In this case, 144 FA Cup tournaments have been held for the men, and there have been 45 different clubs winning over time. So again, a fairly exclusive club, maybe not so much as the League Champions. Okay, from here, if you double click on a row, it takes you to the previous report we looked at, but focused on the row that you've double clicked on. So we double clicked on Liverpool with their 8 FA Cup wins, and here we see their 8 matches with their winning results and the years, etc. Okay, so drill down again, controlled by where the drill down has come from to an extent. Okay, so that is the FA Cup winners table. Okay, next up, fixture list. So within Fred, you have the ability and the facilities to maintain the information for the current season. If you take a Fred database at the start of the season, it'll be pre-prepared to an extent, but working through the season, it's up to you whether or not you decide you want to maintain that data through the season and keep all your results and records up to date. The advantage of doing that is that the data that you add is immediately available within all of the reports. So if you do this, your reports will always be bang up to date. It's worth doing. It's controlled by this section here, current season. I'm not going to talk about it today. We're going to cover that in a separate presentation. But the fixture list only looks at the fixtures within the current season. So here we sit on the 12th of July, 2025. Season has effectively ended, but there is one more game. That's the FIFA Club World Cup final. And that's the last game to be played. That's being played tomorrow, Sunday the 13th. So I know that's going to be the only one on the list. I'm just going to leave it as a default filter, and there we have it. So tomorrow, Chelsea play Paris Saint-Germain in the World Cup, FIFA Club World Cup final. Okay, that's that. Right, fixture list done with. Next up, competition results of season. Let's have a look at that one, find it on the list. There it is. So what is this? It's, as the description says, a list of match results grouped by match date within the selected competition. Okay, so let's have a look and see what we can make of this one. Let's have a look at, again, we'll stick with men's football. I don't mean to be or appear a bit misogynistic here and men's football dominating this. Women's football is equally as valid. It's just that there's a lot more data for the men's game than there is for the women's game at this point in time. So it makes more sense to use that range of data for the purposes of this presentation. I'm going back to the 69-70 season. I'm going to look specifically at the FA Cup. Okay, here's what we've got. Okay, so first up, we can see round one of the FA Cup back in November 1969. Incidentally, regarding cup competitions, I tend, for the main competitions, League Cup, FA Cup, tend to only start the results list from round one proper. I know there are preliminary and qualifying rounds in a lot of cases, but I'm only, for the purposes of these main domestic competitions, starting from round one proper. I'm not saying I won't put the preliminary and the qualification data in at some point in time. I haven't done it at this point in time. Okay, so round one, let's take ourselves all the way through to the end of the season. And here we have it. It was the season in which Chelsea and Leeds contested the final. Final went to a replay after a draw in the first match. I watched a rerun of this game not too long ago on TV. And I have to say, if it was played today, it would probably have ended up as a five-a-side match because of the players that would have been sent off. It was so brutal. And it's a bit of an eye-opener to what the game used to be back in the day. Very different today. Anyway, a draw in the first game after extra time. The replay saw Chelsea win 2-1, again after extra time. Okay. Incidentally, this might be one where you would be interested in drilling down into a particular team. So let's have a look at Chelsea, see what they did to get to their winning position in the final. There they are. Here we go. So this was Chelsea's run on that season all the way till their winning final. They opened up in round 3 with a 3-0 win over Birmingham. And you can see they played Burnley, went to a replay. Semi-finals, they beat Watford, and then through to the final. So again, showing the flexibility of the filtering within the reports. Okay. Right, what should we look at next? Community Shield match list. Just do this very quickly. It will illustrate, oh, sorry about that. That's me being a bit of a fool. Community Shield match list and run. So this illustrates, as I was saying earlier, that there are some reports that aren't relevant to the women's game. So within here, even though you've got a selector for men or women, the women option is switched off because there are no Community Shield matches within the women's game. So we'll just leave that at that and we'll run it. And here they are. So this is showing that the first tournament was back in 1908-1909 when Manchester United and Queen's Park Rangers drew the first match. Manchester United won a replay. They were played at Stamford Bridge. Okay, working down the list, you can see here that the FA decided in some situations they would allocate a share of the tournament if the match was drawn. Later on, it became a penalty shootout decider. The last shared one was back in 91-92, Arsenal and Tottenham drawing 0-0, and they shared the trophy. Okay, and then most recently, this last season, Manchester Derby played on the 10th of August, the curtain raiser for the new season, and Manchester City won on a penalty shootout 7-6. Okay. That's the Community Shield match list. Community Shield winners table. Here we go again. It's a very similar report to what we saw for the FA Cup. Run that for everything again. And here's what we've got. This one shows Manchester United way out front, 4 clear of Arsenal in second place. They've won Um, 21 titles for the Community Shield. Here we see 113 tournaments, and again a fairly exclusive club, only 28 clubs having won this trophy. Quite a few only having won it once. As you can see the list there, again some big names on that list. World Cup team, yeah, I'll let you research that if you're interested. Okay, again, if you drill down from here, you can see the specifics of, in this case, I've double clicked on Wolverhampton Wanderers. These are the matches that Wolverhampton Wanderers were winners of the Community Shield. On 3 occasions, Wolves shared the trophy because they drew their matches. On 1 occasion, they beat Forest 3-1 in normal time, 1959. Their last win was 1960, so they're overdue, aren't they? Okay. Good. So, what's next? Head-to-head record. Okay, something a bit different again. Again, you'll probably clear in your mind straight away what I mean by a head-to-head record. Here's the description. It's a list of the match results between any 2 clubs over any period of time with summary totals. So, what you have to do in this report is select between men and women. Again, apologies ladies, but I'm going to stick with the men's game for the time being. The 2 clubs need to be selected, so let's choose fairly arbitrarily. Who shall we have? Let's go and see who's on the list and make a choice. I'm going to pick, who have we got here? Coventry City, why not? And I'm going to see how they get on against, or have got on against, let's see. No, let's go Coventry City and Fulham. Okay. Again, we'll leave the other filter options off, so we're going to get a full list of everything between Coventry City and Fulham. All seasons, all competitions. Here we go. Okay. So this is showing every game that they've played, showing the competition that they played in, and the dates obviously, and the results. And the summary here tells us that they've met 41 times. Coventry have won 15, Fulham have won 16, there've been 10 draws, Coventry 55 goals, Fulham 61 goals. Okay. Their most recent meeting was in 2022, 10th of April, in the 2nd tier, the Sky Bet Championship. Coventry won that game 3-1. Okay, so head-to-head record, I think you'll see that quite a lot on internet searches and things like that, but we've got a very flexible version here. For example, we could say competition type, and we could say, well, I'm only interested in when they played in the league. I'm not bothered about any FA Cup matches. And in fact, I'm going to say I'm only interested in when they played in the 2nd tier in the league. This is what we get. There we go. These are the matches. There have been 26 of them. 12 wins for Coventry, 11 for Fulham, and 3 draws. Okay, so you've got a lot of control over that report to see exactly what you want to see. Okay, that's the head-to-head record. So next up, trophy winners of season. Simple little report, this one. So all you're doing here with this report is I'm going to leave the gender open because this will list both men's and women's trophy winners. Just going to choose the season. So let's look at last season. The season just finished. Okay, see what we see. So here we go. We can see FA Cup winners Crystal Palace, Women's FA Cup Chelsea, Premier League Liverpool, Sky Bet Championship Leeds, and so on. Includes the European competitions, so you can see that the Women's Champions League was won by Arsenal. Chelsea won the UEFA Conference League. The reason why this one is blank is because an English club didn't win it. Okay, but there was English representation in that competition that season. That's why it's listed here. I probably should put the European club that did win it in there, and perhaps I'll add that to my list of future enhancements. And there we go, right the way through. You've also got the National League Cup, you've got the National League divisions, you've got the playoff tournaments, etc. So there's a lot there. Okay. So that's trophy winners of season. Next up, club honours. Again, something a little bit different again. Okay, so you might want to see, well, here's the description, a list of the honours won by a selected club showing the season and competition together with the outcome for the club. Okay, so again, we can select between men and women. Let's have a look at a women's team. I know the data there is going to be less, but even so, it's still relevant. So let's have a look at what, I don't know, let's say Arsenal. Arsenal, where are they? Arsenal. And in here, then again, you can restrict the season range if you choose. I've also given you some options to include sort of like, you know, best sort of backups to winning a tournament outright. Do you want to see whether they were the league runners-up, whether they achieved a league promotion, whether they were the cup runners-up? I'll just switch on promotions here, see what that gives us. So it's everything for Arsenal women, including league promotions. Here we've got it. Okay. I actually think they've only played in the top flight. I believe they have, yeah, so it's not showing any promotions, but that's okay. So what you can see here is that back in 92-93, they won the FA Cup. Same again in 94-95. And most recently, in the season just finished, they won the Women's Champions League. Fantastic performance by them in that tournament. And lots of other wins in between, league and cup. Okay, so that's honours for a selected club. Next up, League Cup final match lists. Just doing this in the interest of completeness. Very similar to FA Cup finals. So we'll start off with the match list. And here we go. Everything for men. So there's all the wins. First one back in 1960-61. And most recently, as we said earlier, Newcastle's win against Liverpool in the 2024-25 season. Okay. Equally, as with the other cup competitions, there's also a winners' table as well. This is what this one looks like. So Liverpool out front with 10 League Cup trophy wins, closely followed by Manchester City on 8, and then Manchester United on 6. 65 tournaments, 24 clubs, a little bit more spread out, shall we say, amongst the clubs. There's my club, Oxford United, managing their one success in 1986. I'll never forget that. Don't think any Oxford fan will. But plenty of other clubs who've just crept onto this table with a single win. Okay. And equally, I should have said you could drill down into the matches, as I've showed with the other reports, but I won't go back to that now. Okay, club record sequences. This is one of my favourite reports. Let's find it here. Where are we? Club record sequences, this one here. This is a multi-tab report showing the longest sequences with match result lists for wins, draws, losses, no wins, no draws, unbeaten, clean sheet, conceding, scoring, and non-scoring sequences. So basically 10 reports in one there. Let's have a look at it. So here we go. Men's game, let's choose a club and see what they've done. This is very arbitrary. I haven't pre-selected anything here. Let's go and see what we find. Let's go for Northampton Town. Northampton Town, everything. I'm not going to restrict anymore. Let's see what they do. This is quite a hungry report here, so it takes a little bit of time to run, but it will get there. And here it is. Okay, Northampton Town, all seasons, all competitions. So their longest winning streak, 8 matches. That happened in 1960, between August and September 1960, and there they are. All the matches were in League Division 4. Draws. On 2 occasions, they've been on a 6-match sequence of draws. Again, they were all league matches. League Division 4 in 1983, League Division, or npower League 2, should I say, in 2011. Losses. On 4 occasions, they've lost 7 on the trot. Here's the lists. So not league in this case, there was a cup game in there, same here. No win, so where they've gone without a win. On 2 occasions, they've gone 19 matches without a win in all competitions. There's the first list, and there's the second list. The first list being in 1969, the second list being in 1993. Not going to want to add to that. Games without a draw, 29 matches sequence for Northampton in 1927 without a draw. February right through to November 1927. That's an interesting point, actually. This doesn't look at season boundaries. This just looks at consecutive competitive matches. So if it does span 2 seasons, as in this example, then that's fine. That's what the report does. Unbeaten runs. Okay, games without defeat. The longest they've had on 1 occasion is 27 matches back in 2016. It's a very good run. Okay. Clean sheets. On 1 occasion, they went 6 games without conceding a goal. This was in the 1930s. Conversely, when they did concede a goal, on 1 occasion, they conceded in 29 matches consecutively. Probably an unwanted record there, but there it is. That was back in 1965-66. Scoring, games in which they have scored. 22 matches consecutively in 1986 between August and 2 occurrences, I beg your pardon. 1986 being the first, August to December, and then 1996, November through to March. And then finally, non-scoring, games when they haven't scored. Just 1 occurrence of 7 matches back in 1939. I like that report. I think it's very interesting. It's all computed on the fly. So if you added a result today that affected one of those sequences, it would immediately be available when you rerun it. Nothing stored here. It's all computed at the time of running the report. Okay, that's the club record sequences report. Next up, what should we do next? Club league performance by season. Club league performance by season. This one here. It's a relatively slow report, so I'm going to choose an option with a little bit less data. Let's dip into the women's game and choose Liverpool women. Okay, and then let's just run that, see what we get. Because I've only looked at a fairly small list of data, that report ran quite quickly. If it had been the full range for a men's team, then it would have run considerably slower. Okay, interesting report. Here are the seasons that Liverpool have competed in the league, starting back in 2011 up to, I'm showing the current or the coming season. Obviously, there's no data in there yet. The season hasn't started, but it's on the list. So what does this show for a given row? So in 2024-25, for example, they were at the top tier, level 1. They played 22 league matches, winning 7, drawing 4, losing 11, 22 for, 37 against. They finished 7th, and that is overall 7th. So what that means, the overall column, is that they were looking at the combination of the first and the second tier together for women's football. If you look at this example here, like 21-22, when Liverpool were in the second tier, they finished top in their particular division that season and were promoted, but it was 13th overall because there were 12 teams in the top tier. Does that make sense? I hope so. Okay, so that's the club league performance by season report. Just out of interest, let's have a quick double click onto this. And again, it takes you again to that club results of season report. So this is going to pop up a lot on drill down because quite often when you've got a summary for a season, the results is what you want to see underneath that. This is what Liverpool did in that season. Okay, so that's club league performance by season. Next up, where are we? All club league performance. Right, let's have a look. All club league performance. So, First thing I can say here, and a warn against, if you like, this is a very slow report in terms of running, just because of the amount of processing it has to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose something that is a restricted range of information. I'm going to restrict the season range. I'm going to stick with men's football, but I'm going to restrict the season range to just the 2000s. So we'll start in 2000, 2001, and we'll finish in 24, 25. Yeah. Where are we? What else shall I do with that? Yeah, I'll leave it at that. And I will then I will decide that I'm going to order this not by wins, number of wins, but by win percentage. You've got that option. Let's see what we get. So you have to bear with this for a few seconds because it is a slow report. Hopefully not too slow. This is the point at which I say I either have to sing you a song and keep you entertained that way, although that wouldn't keep you entertained, or I have to invite you to go and make a cup of tea, come back in a couple of minutes when the report's ready to view. But hopefully what it also does in showing you this is demonstrating that with large volumes of data, there is a lot of processing needing to be done in order to arrive at certain results. Some stuff's easy, just basic lists, but when you're having to crunch a lot of data together like we are here, then it takes its time, even though we're only looking at a small proportion of the history of league football. Okay. Feels like one of those awkward silences now. I'm not very good in this situation. If I'm sitting in a room and nobody's speaking, I feel compelled to speak. That's probably a weakness on my part, but there you go. As you can probably tell, I can chunter along with the best of them when I choose. I wish this report would chunter along a bit more. Nearly there. And come on, baby. Here we go. Let's hope it was worth the wait, eh? So, the All Club League performance. So what this is showing us and presenting in an ordered list is how, in that season range to the 2000s onwards, how the clubs have performed in league terms. First column shows you how many matches, I beg your pardon, how many seasons they've competed in. So, for example, Salford City have only competed in 6 of those 25 seasons. Within those seasons, then, how many league matches have they played? How many have they won, drawn, and lost? What's their win percentage? That's the ratio of the number of wins over the number of matches. How many goals have they scored for and against, and what is the corresponding goal difference? Okay, so a lot of data pulled together in this report, and you can see there are 116 clubs that have competed in league football. This is tier 4 upwards, and those 116 clubs. Some of them have only ever spent time in the lower divisions. Others have spent most of their time in the top division. But if we look at any one particular one, we just mentioned Salford City. Let's look at that. That then drills down to one of the other reports that we've looked at a few minutes ago. This is their... that's interesting. Okay. Yes, I should have foreseen this. I beg your pardon. So we said on this first report here that... Let's go back to it. That Salford City have competed in the top 4 divisions 6 times. What I've neglected to do here is when I do the drill down, I've neglected to pass through the top 4 division rule. So it's picking out 3 seasons prior to their league, them joining the league, where they were still in the conference, or in this case, Conference North. So ideally I should have filtered that out just so we were looking at the top 4 division participation only. My bad, as the youngsters say these days. But anyway, you are seeing from here that the the drill down takes you to another report that we'd previously looked at. Okay, so that is the All Club League Performance Report. Remember, it's a hungry one. What's next? We're working our way nicely down the list now. Next up, Club Season Summary. In contrast, this is a very simple little report. So, Club Season Summary, fairly self-explanatory, a list of the competitions in which a selected club participated, showing their match counts and outcomes in each competition. So, let's go to women's football, and let's choose 2018-19, trying to avoid the COVID years, and let's choose Aston Villa. Okay. And what that's showing is that for Aston Villa's women in 2018-19, they competed in 3 competitions. They got to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. They finished 6th in the Women's Championship, and they only got to the group stage of the Women's League Cup. Okay, so that, as I say, is a very simple little report, just summarising what the club did within a season in performance terms. Okay, club season summary. The next one is Club All Seasons Summary. Okay, variation on the theme. Okay, so let's go to, let's stick with the women's game, and let's stick with Aston Villa, why not? Okay, Aston Villa, where are you? You are there, thank you. And let's run the report. This is what we get. So, Aston Villa women, records go back to 1970-71 when they weren't a league club, but they were participating in the FA Cup. Okay, and they didn't join the league until the 2014 season. In that season, they were in Level 2, Super League 2, and they finished 4th in that division. They also participated in the EFL Cup, the League Cup, for women in that season, and reached the group stage. What we should see is that for the season that we looked at, it was 18-19, we'll see the same information that we saw on the previous report, that they were in the second tier of football. They finished 6th out of 11 in the division, quarterfinals FA Cup, group stage EFL Cup or League Cup. Okay, so that's the club all season summary. Next up, 2 more for, in this case, for the EFL trophy. So very, very quickly, the match list for men, EFL trophy. This is an EFL lower division, lower league tournament. And here we see that the first tournament was held in 1981-82, and it was won by Grimsby Town. And then most recently, last season, Peterborough United beat Birmingham City, and that was a surprise because Birmingham were in awesome form at the end of last season. But Peterborough won the day that day at Wembley in front of nearly 72,000 fans. Okay, and then to accompany that, you've got the same as with the other competitions. You've got a winners table. This was a little bit more shared out. Again, not relevant to the women's game yet. But here we go. So the top team in this top trophy is Bristol City with 3 wins. Those are the seasons that they won in, and quite a few. So in 44 tournaments, 30 winning clubs. That's very egalitarian. Okay, and again, with a winning, with a result, with a row, sorry, on the winners table, double clicking takes you down to the specifics of the match in question. Okay. So that's the EFL trophy. We've got, this is number 25 coming up now, League Division Ups and Downs. It's a quirky little report, this one. It's amazing what comes out of my mind sometimes. Let's have a look at this one. So, League Division, let's look at a fairly recent one maybe. Let's go 15-16, and let's look at Division, let's look at the Championship. So what this is showing is that in that season, the 3 promoted teams were Burnley, Middlesbrough and Hull. Burnley and Middlesbrough went up automatically. Hull went up through the playoffs, and in the same season, Charlton Athletic, Milton Keynes Dons, and Bolton Wanderers were relegated automatically. Okay, so just a little snapshot of the ups and downs in a given league season, league division. Simple little report, that one. Next up, club record results. Okay, where are we? Club record results, here we go. This is similar in a way to the club record sequences report that I showed you a little bit earlier. It's another multi-tab report showing the records with match result lists for, goals against, winning margin, losing margin, and aggregate score for a selected club. Okay, let's have a look at it. This one's 5 reports in one, effectively. Men's game, record results, arbitrary choice of club. Who should we have? Let's come down here and let's choose Southampton. See what we've got. Again, I'm not going to apply any further filters, but let's see. So 5 tabs, and here we go. So, goals for. Their biggest goals for total was in September 1965 when they beat Wolves 9-3. They scored 9 goals in that game in League Division 2. Their biggest goals against total, yeah, these are recent, aren't they? So they lost 9-0 at home to Leicester City, conceded 9 goals in that game in the Premier League back in 2019. And then a couple of years later, another 9-0 drubbing, this time at Old Trafford, Manchester United. Winning margins, their biggest winning margins, 8 goals, and that was in 3 separate occasions, 1921, 2014 and 2021. There they are. Loss margin, similarly, well, it's those same 2 that they lost 9-0 in. And then aggregate score, the same one for the goals for, this time 12 goals in that game against Wolves in 1965. Okay, so yeah, not quite as interesting as the record sequences, in my opinion, but information nonetheless. Okay, so that's club record results. Club European record by season. Okay, let's have a look at this. Club European record by season. There it is. We'll run it. I think we'll have a look at Forest. So, Nottingham Forest. So again, all-time Nottingham Forest men's team. Let's have a look. So here we go. So these are the European campaigns that they've participated in over all time. Their first outing in Europe was in 1961-62 in the old Intercities Fairs Cup. Not great for them. Played 2, lost 2, only got to the first round. Most recently, they played in the UEFA Cup in 95-96, where they got to the quarterfinals. But who can forget their glory years? So 78-79 winners and 79-80 winners. Yeah, great times for Forest. I'm sure they'd love to see those days back again. Okay, we could say on this report, well, let's just look at Champions League, which includes the European Cup, and see what they've done in that. They've never played in the Champions League as such, but there are their 3 outings in the European Cup, the top level European competition. Those 2 wins, and then following in 80-81, a very disappointing round 1 exit. Okay, so that's club European record by season. Another European one to accompany that next, which is all club European performance. Where are we? That's that report there. Let's have a look at this. Let's run all of that again. It's a medium report. It's slower than a lot of the others, but it is a little bit labour intensive. So this is looking at all the clubs that have participated in European competition, all English clubs that have participated in European competition over the years, over all years. So you can see here the seasons of participation. So in contrast, you've got Arsenal, who participated in 41 seasons, and then other clubs that have only had a little dip into European competition. Bristol Rovers, for example, just happened once for them. Okay, you can see the big guns. You've got Chelsea with 37. You've got Manchester United with 55, Liverpool with 58. So they're the big guns. Let's do a bit of drill down. Let's have a look at a club. Let's look at Derby. 7 times they've participated. And this is what in. So 72-73, they were in the European Cup, reached the semi-final. And most recently, 94-95, the Anglo-Italian Cup, reached the group stage. This report actually gives an example of like drill down followed by drill down. So we've just looked from the main report at Derby County, their 7 seasons. We could go a bit further now. We could go, well, let's look at their runner-up in the Anglo-Italian Cup, 92-93, and let's have a look at the results that year. Now they got to the final where they lost 3-1 to Cremonese. That's in April 1993. Okay, so, and of course you can still drill down further from there. So drill down is not restricted to one level. It can go down multiple levels if necessary, if you wish. Okay, so backing back up, that's the All Club European Performance Report. Nearly finished. We've got 4 more reports for you to look at. Playoff final match list. Playoff final match list. Okay, where is it? Here it is. A list of divisional playoff final match results in chronological order. Okay, here we go. So again, no women's playoffs at this point in time, so we're just looking at the men's game. I'm just going to focus in on one division. Let's say I'm only interested in, let's say the conference. So level 5, National League as it's now called, and see what that gives us. Okay, so the first playoff final was in 2002-03 season. Dagenham lost 3-2 home to Doncaster, and that was after extra time. Obviously that led to Doncaster's promotion. And then most recently, this season just gone, Oldham Athletic beating Southend by 3-2 to return to the Football League. That'd be a wonderful time, wonderful day for them. Okay, so that's the playoff final match list report. Next up, head-to-head record results. Okay, this is a variation on the head-to-head theme. Once again, it's looking at 2 clubs. Let's choose any 2 clubs, probably well-established records. Let's look at Huddersfield Town, and let's look at, what should we have? Norwich City. So what's their head-to-head record like? Again, we'll leave it open for all seasons, all competitions, see what we get. Remember, this is not just a list of matches for the games that they've played against each other. This is the record scores that they've achieved against each other. Okay, this is what we've got. So Club 1, in this case, that's Huddersfield Town, goals for. So on 3 occasions, Huddersfield Town have scored 3 goals. Not a massive number, but that's just the way it is between these 2 teams in all competitions. Contrast that with Norwich City. They have won 7-0 win against Huddersfield back in 2021. Winning margin, a 3-0 win for Huddersfield. This is Club 1, sorry. Huddersfield, 3-0 win in 2017. I think we know what the equivalent's going to be for Norwich. That's 7-0 win. And then aggregate score. The biggest aggregate score between them was also the 7-0 win. So I hope you get the idea of that report. It's again, it's a head-to-head between any 2 selected clubs, but not focusing so much on sequences, list of results, or anything like that. Focusing on record scores, and that's what we've got. Okay, we're very nearly there now. 2 left. League attendance table. Okay, now I was umming and ahhing about whether to include this report because the amount of attendance data in Fred at the moment is very limited. Got most of it for like cup finals and things like that, but very little for league competitions, etc. So let's have a look and see what we've got. Slightly different date picker here. I'm allowing sort of single dates, date ranges, single season, season ranges. I'm going to go to a single season for, let's stay recent, 24-25. Okay. And the men's game. I'll leave it in the men's game. So this is a league attendance table. Let's see what we've got. So this is all four divisions. Last season just finished. So what it's showing, it's ordered by average gates descending. So Manchester United, as you probably would have guessed, played 19 home games last season. Total of 1.4 million people, seats, should I say, were sold in those 19 games. Highest 73,839, lowest 73,297, average 73,747. And then we've got the equivalent for the rest of the league teams. Okay, at the bottom there, this including all levels, so levels 5 and 6 as well. Right at the bottom there, Braintree Town, having played 23 league matches and having an average gate of 1147. Okay, as I say, because the amount of data available on attendances at the moment is so limited, that this may not stay. I might have to wait until there's a lot more attendance data gathered. But for the time being, I just wanted to see what it might look like, and this is what it might look like. Okay, thank you. Last one. This isn't really a report. I don't know why I've called it a report, really, but it isn't. Well, you'll see. League Division walkthrough. So what this is really is just a little opportunity for somebody to have a trip down memory lane. Do you remember that season when such and such did such and such, and they made that late run and won the tournament, won the league at the last minute, all of that sort of stuff. Well, this is what this report, if that's the right term to use, does. Let's have a look at. Let's give you an example of what I mean. Let's choose 1988-89 season, and let's choose the top flight, and let's see what happened there. Okay. Now, having made those selections, I'm sure many of you will be looking and thinking, all right, okay, I see where he's going with this. Well, let's go there anyway. Let's show you what this screen looks like. Quite different from any of the other reports. Okay. So, what this does is it gives you an opportunity to step through a season at any pace that you like. So what we're saying here is that initially, at the start of the season, this is the division before any games have been played. They're the teams competing this season. Okay, and then we start the season by moving on to the first round of matches. So 27th of August 1988, there were 9 matches. There they are, shown without results to start with. Let's reveal the results. They are the results there. That's what happened on that first day. And consequently, let's update the league table. So a result of that first round of matches, Coventry Spurs not playing. This is what happened at the end. Arsenal had what did they do? They had a 5-win win at Wimbledon, which is putting them top of the division on day one. Okay. And then you can step through. You can just keep stepping through. So the next round of matches, reveal the results, update the table. Next round of matches, reveal the results, update the table. If there were any points adjustments within the season, they would appear here as and when they were relevant, i.e. when we reached the date that the adjustments were made. None at this point in time. Don't think there are any in this season, but we'll see. And you can see then that you are able with this report to just step through stage by stage, just seeing how things change on a week-to-week basis. Let's accelerate our way through. These buttons, by the way, first, previous, next, last. Start of the season, end of the season, next game, previous game. You can also step through in this respect in your drop down. So let's go to the turn of the year and see where we were on the 1st of January. There was only one match on the 1st of January. That was Manchester United against Liverpool. It was a 3-1 win for Manchester United. And consequently, the table looked like this. Arsenal and Norwich, both on 37 points at the top of the table. Look at Millwall. I've forgotten that they were flying the way they are there in that season. Amazing. Okay, so stepping on again, and so on. Okay, let's get towards the end of the season now. Let's come in here, 17th of May. A couple of matches that day. Arsenal, Wimbledon, Sheffield Wednesday, Norwich. Scores were a couple of 2-2 draws. Where did that leave the league table at that time? So remember, in this division, 20 teams, 19 opponents, 38 league matches. So at this point in time, a lot of the clubs had finished their season. West Ham still had a couple of games down there. It's only the top few that are really in the mix in the final games of the season. And look what we've got. We've got Arsenal up top, both with Liverpool, both on 35 goal difference. Arsenal on top just by virtue of having scored more goals than Liverpool. Okay, let's see what happened. You know what happened, but let's see it anyway. Next up, Forest West Ham. It's not going to have much bearing on the top of the table, but we'll do it anyway for completeness. The next game then was Liverpool against West Ham. This is going to have a bearing, and Liverpool staked a claim, went back to the top of the table with a 5-1 win over West Ham. Okay, so one game left to play. You couldn't script it, could you? The final game of the season, 26th of May, 1989, Liverpool hosting Arsenal. You know what happened. Arsenal won 2-0. That famous Michael Thomas goal in the dying minutes of the game. Update the league table. Arsenal win the league, again, tied on goal difference by virtue of goals scored. Amazing season. And we all remember where we were when that happened, don't we? Anyway, enough. So that, as I say, not really a report as such, more just a little bit of sort of, as I say, trip down memory lane for those that want to take it. And that's the lot. That's 32 reports that I've just been through over probably about an hour or so that I've been talking to you. And I hope you found them interesting and informative. As I said earlier, if there are any suggestions or ideas or thoughts about what you could add to this, what I could add to this list in terms of reporting, or even in terms of adjustments to the reports that already exist, I'd be very happy to hear from them. So please do give me a shout at any time, and we will be good to hear from you. If you want to contact me, there's my email address. It's dave@teardropsoftware.co.uk. Be great to hear from you at any time. To use that, just copy it to the clipboard, and then you can paste it into your new mail, and off we go. Okay, thank you for listening. Been very patient, and I hope you found the session interesting. Thank you very much indeed. Bye-bye now.